Okay, I think we're live. I think I'm using new technology because my systems are all wonky. So, today we're talking all about a simple key to grow wealth. If you are here live, please feel free to say hello. And if you are watching on the replay, say hi and where you are watching in from. If you are brand new, so there's going to be three things that I want to cover off, and we're going to keep this as short and as concise as possible. So, number one, we're going to talk about what that is. What is this simple key? Number two, why it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And then the third thing is where I want you to start. So if you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh. I am a married mama of two, and I am a business sales and wealth strategist. And I am also a kingdom business builder, which just means I talk about God, I talk about Jesus. If you're offended by the Holy Spirit, then probably best to log off. But today we're talking all about money, we're talking about wealth, and we're talking about a simple key. And if you're not familiar with my background, because you might be thinking, well, who the heck are you that you're talking about this? I spent almost 20 years in corporate finance, working for Canada's largest financial institution. And so, that being said, the very first business that I did was when I was 7 years old, and I loaned my allowance money to my sisters. So that's the background. That's the context. Now, for the purposes of today and the conversation that we're having, I know that wealth can sometimes mean a lot of different things. And I actually personally think that wealth covers off not just money, but it covers off everything holistically, right? Like your whole person. But to keep things very, very simple, we're going to focus this conversation around money. Okay. So, number one, let's talk about what is the simple key. Now, y- before I tell you what it is, I know that you're going to be tempted to click off as soon as you hear it because you're going to go, well, that's really simple. Yeah, it is simple. But here's the thing, so many people don't do it. So many people, it's like your health, right? We know what to do, and yet we're not doing it. Why? Right? Why is that? Hello, Jody. Um, so because if you ask anybody who wants to take better care of their health and you ask them, like, what do you need to do? Just about all of us know what to do, right? Chances are, when I tell you what is a simple key, you're going to know, oh, yeah, duh. You're going to know what it is. But the reality is that we get stuck in these patterns and these loops and these stories and these old ways, which sometimes they're not even your ways. It's just the way that it's always been done. And so when I tell you what this is, so number one, we're going to talk about what this simple key is. Number two, why it's simple but not easy. And then number three, where to start. Because when you think about wealth and when you think about growing wealth to like crazy levels, right? Like not just a small amount, but just, I want, and if you're brave enough and you're here live or you're on the replay, I want you to declare right now, what is the level of wealth that you desire, that you know that God has for you? What does that look like? Right? When I was, I think, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, I was watching Oprah and was inspired by a school teacher who retired a millionaire. Now, she had never made more than $23,000 a year. And just by her sharing her story, it inspired me to realize that, and this is the simple key that we're going to get to, that anybody, anybody, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter where you live in the world, that, and especially today, in today's day, that anybody, if you have the mind and the will and the desire for it, that you can have as much wealth as you possibly want, right? The Bible actually says that God gives us the power to create wealth. And so that power lives in each of us. It's just a matter of whether or not we're actually activating it and using it and taking the appropriate actions that are aligned to what that power is designed to develop for us. And I believe that every single one of us has a unique skill set, a unique set of talents, a unique set of experiences that, when combined together, it exponentially can improve your wealth. And I've seen this firsthand now. since starting a business. I didn't fully understand this when I was back in corporate. So, the very first thing that I want us to realize is that wealth is unlimited. It really is only defined by you and what you believe is possible. So often we are thinking that I have to see it first in order to believe it. And I mean, if it was already done, nothing new would ever be created, right? So, all this being said, if you want the kind of crazy levels of wealth that are, the story of movies and the fascinations of childish imaginations, I want you to just really think about what is it that's getting in the way, right? Did somebody tell you that it's not possible? Did you tell yourself that it's not possible? Do you feel like it needs to be way more complicated than it needs to be in order for you to have the level of wealth that you desire? Because this simple key is just like taking hold of your health, right? So let's use an analogy. If you wanted to be in better health, then you probably need to watch what you eat and watch what you do, right? Like as in movement. Wealth is very similar. So you're going to watch what you make and you're going to watch how you spend that money. So, make more, spend less. Now here's the thing, because I am not a fan of budgets. You might think that with the simple key that I just told you, make more, spend less than you make, right? Why is it that so many people continue to make more and make more and make more, but yet they're no further ahead? It's because the equation of just making more is not it, right? There's so many people, it's called lifestyle creep, where the more they make, the more they spend. The more they make, the more they spend. And so the idea of more and more and more and more and more is actually not the solution. It is really about what is it that you need that's enough for you to achieve and accomplish your goals, your dreams, and your desires. And your number may look different. What is your number? Right. And so when you do this and you are able to harness and really get concrete around what it is that you desire, then I mean, this is kind of the woo woo, but it's also backed by science. You will put out the thought, the intention, and the magnetism of what it is that you're trying to create and what it is that you want more of in your life. And what we often do is that we focus on the lack. We focus on what we don't have. We focus on the limitations. We focus on what's been done before, and then we are trying to recreate something brand new, but we keep focusing on the thing that was already done before. Does this make sense? So when we look at this, right, because it's basically two sides of the same coin. You create more and you spend less. Now, here's the thing, because instantly, when we talk about this, I want you to think about it almost like a teeter totter or even like a pendulum, right? It swings one side to the other. Human beings by nature like to be a little bit all or nothing. It's a bias, right? It's a cognitive bias, and you can Google that. When we think about the things in life, we often are black and white, yes or no, this or that, and it's almost to the extreme. So when we say something like make more, spend less, most people are going to go, I have to make, 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 and then I don't know how to spend. And that is not the key to growing a wealthy life that is abundant, that you actually get to enjoy, because there is plenty of miserly people who have a desperate fear that they're going to lose it all, and they are like hoarding their money and they cannot share or be generous or utilize those funds in a way that actually enhances their lives and the lives of other people. So that is not the goal. Like the goal is not to just keep making, 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 and then spend less and less and less and less and less and less and less to the point where you're scared to spend. You have to learn how to spend in a way that's aligned to your goals. But you can't spend so much that you actually are never getting ahead, because you simply are just creating more money in order to pay for what you've already spent. Does this make sense? And so when we think about this equation and why it's simple but not easy, it's because most people are going to get hung up by either working so hard in order to create more because they think that it's about time. right? It's about more time, more effort, more energy. When the truly wealthy, they create and make more money, not by more time, more effort, more energy, but oftentimes it's really about doing less in a better, more impactful way. And that often requires more leadership. It requires you to stop being the one doing the thing and start thinking about how you're creating the systems, the tools, the resources in order to make more money. So, as an example, if you are working in a job, right, your capacity to make more money is going to be limited by what somebody else wants to pay you, right? So as an example, you start off and you're maybe flipping burgers, right? There's only a certain amount that you will ever get paid in order to do that kind of work, right? Yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm flipping burgers. It probably won't pay more than a little bit over minimum wage. But as you grow in your skill set, you're going to be able to increase the value of what it is that you do so that you can actually create more money. So again, still working in a job, but now you get promoted because maybe now you actually are better than just flipping the burgers. And now you get to be a line cook, or maybe you get to be a manager or supervisor, or maybe you're the one actually managing the till. So now you get to actually interact with customers. So as you increase your skill set, you're going to be able to improve your ability to make more money. Now, here's the thing, in a job, you're always going to be trading time for money, right? Because that's how the world works right now, that you clock in and you clock out. Now, often the people that are at the highest tiers of a job, so we're talking about C-suite executives, and the reason, so just pay attention as I'm talking, right? If to what is showing up for you, because oftentimes the things that we're triggered by the most, or the things that we're like, oh, are the areas where we need to push the boundaries and start to grow and stretch, especially as it relates to money and money management, or money mindset, and wealth, prosperity. Okay, because that is not about how much money that you actually have in the bank. It's really about your internal compass, or thermometer, your gauge, to hold and manage and grow the level of wealth by which you have available to you. Okay. And so you could have a lot of money, you could have a lot of wealth, and still feel very poor and still act in ways that would be from limitation, or from scarcity, or from fear. And we don't want that for you. We want that full abundance, the experience of life that comes from having confidence and knowing that what it is that's for you is for you. So when we think about um, making more, right? So make more money or create more wealth is really about having more, and then not allowing as much of it to go out, right? So in this case, it would be spending less. Now, this is not about restriction. This is about aligning what it is that you want to spend money on, and to turn that money into wealth and generating wealth as quickly as possible. So, in and amongst all of this conversation, what I want you to consider is that oftentimes what we are doing is that when we trade money for dollars in whatever capacity, because sometimes that's within the context of our careers, our jobs, but also in the context of our businesses. Okay. It's the number one thing that I get clients to do, is that I get you to stop being an hourly employee in your job. It may be helpful for you to transfer and translate what you're doing in your career as an employee to then start as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, but it definitely will keep you stuck if you are continuing to build your business, because you cannot grow beyond the capacity of your time, right? And so if you continually think about trading dollars for hours and hours for dollars, you're always going to be capped, because according to the time, like the clock that we operate with here on earth, there's 24 hours. 24 hours, right? And so what I want you to think about is, as you create more wealth, as you create more money, is really about creating opportunities for you to optimize and maximize for the right things. And the faster that you can unhook and uncouple from being able to trade time for money and start looking at outcomes and start looking at results and start trading what it is that you do for experience and for wisdom and for results and for impact, the greater the value that you provide in the world and the more that you're going to be able to help other people while at the same time making more. Does this make sense? Okay. Um, Hopefully you can't hear that ringing in the background. That's my timer. I may have to pop out because I was trying to get this short and sweet, but the technology wasn't working for me. So so the key, we're going to repeat this over and over again, and you're going to dismiss me and you're going to go, well, Susan, that surely can't be the answer. It is the answer, but there's a million ways to get to this answer. So the key is to make more and to spend less. And this is not about restrictions. This is not about budgeting yourself to death. This is really about aligning your desires with where you actually receive money, how you create money, and how you manage and spend money so that it can grow. Because too often, what we're doing is that we are working hard for money when money should be working hard for us. And if you don't know how to leverage how you create money in a way that is sustainable and aligned and abundant for you, and that could be inside of a career, it could be inside of a job, but I firmly believe that everybody should have additional income streams by which that money is going to grow without you needing to trade time for dollars, where without you having to spend a lot of time or effort and energy in order to manage and review it and look after it. You definitely need to steward it, but you don't have to be actively managing it. That's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want to have two, three, four, five, six different jobs. We want you to give your money a job and to assign it into the places it needs to go, which includes where you're going to be spending that. Does this make sense? So, when you are able to then create more without having to then incrementally increase your expenses, because that's what the wealthiest people do. As a percentage of what they make, their expenses are much, much smaller. Now, you may be saying, well, Susan, that might be the luxury and the privilege of the wealthy. I'm going to tell you right now that most of the wealthiest people in the world, they were not born into wealth. They had to learn the skill set. And because they did, they appreciate and understand what it's like to live within their means. And in fact, most wealthy people, they have lived within their means for a longer period of time, the ones that keep it. And as a result, they are good stewards of their money. And that means that the more that they have, they don't follow what the rule of the average does, which is the rule of the average means this is what average people do. And after decades of monitoring, counseling, and helping amazing people, that unfortunately we're still human beings. They're still like a part of human nature that will do what human beings do. And that means that we like things that make us feel good. Well, did you know that making money and keeping money and being a good steward of money and even multiplying money doesn't always feel good. In fact, it feels downright scary. At times it feels hard. At times it feels uncomfortable. And so if you can get out of your own way to not be led by your feelings, because your feelings will lie to you, they will dissuade you from the path that is actually the most clear for you. So when you think about making more and spending less, your brain is going to go, well, but Susan, I might be struggling right now. Okay, great. I've shared before, when I was fresh out of college, I got two jobs. I had to, I spent 5 years and thousands of dollars on a university degree that was of no use to me when I got my job, making minimum wage. I had rent to pay, I had bills to pay. I didn't want to go home. And yes, I was not married. I did not have children, but regardless, we all have choices that we are here to make, right? And so if you want a different outcome, then you need to make a different choice. And sometimes those choices are hard, and sometimes those choices are uncomfortable, and sometimes those choices aren't what we desire to do. Did I desire to have a minimum paying job? No, I did not. Did I desire to have to work two jobs in order to pay my bills? No, I did not. Right. And so sometimes we have to do the things that are uncomfortable and necessary in order for us to start moving in the direction of our dreams. And this is where most people are not going to do it because it's simple, but it's not easy. Now you may say, but Susan, I can't find a job in today's economy. Well, I get it. But at the same time, if and there's lots of businesses that are looking for workers and somehow it's like nobody wants to work and nobody can get a job. Like, to me there's a disconnect here because there are clearly opportunities. It's just two ships passing in the night. So when you get clear on what it is that you're willing to do, when it's clear to you what it is that you desire and what you can do in order to create wealth and to create more money, more than what you are wanting to spend, then ways will show up. There's a million different ways that you can make money. You could make money online. You could do Uber. You could do um, transcription services. Like, there are so many different things, especially in today's day where there are so many opportunities that you can do from the comfort of uh, your bedroom, from your office, from your closet, like anywhere in the world, right? And so I want you to think for yourself. Number one, what are the limitations or the excuses that you're allowing to keep you stuck? Because that's probably why you're coming up with all these excuses that I say. The simple key is create more and spend less. Well, no, I can't spend less. Mm, really? I mean, if your credit card got stolen today, right? Like if your debit card, your credit card got stolen today, and you had to start all over again with all of your pre-authorized payments. I actually have a friend who does this I think it's every year. He asks his banks to send him a new credit card because it forces him to opt back in, right? So if you would not choose today, right? Like, so I'll give you an example because I'm not immune to this. I have a Kindle subscription because I love to read. But honestly, it has been months since I have read a Kindle book because I have other books that I've been reading. And so every month that I allow the subscription to go through, right, I am passively allowing a decision to be made that I do not align or agree with potentially. And so I want you to think for yourself because a lot of times we have a fear of missing out. And that's why we are continuing to opt into something or passively allowing something to happen when it really does no benefit to what it is that we desire. Does this make sense? So, like, if I just redirected, and you might be thinking, well, Susan, that's not enough money. It's $10 a month. Yeah, but over time, $10 a month, right? $10 a month, if that's all you did was $10 a month over the lifetime, it may or may not be a huge amount. However, the more time that you have for that money to sit, the greater the impact. So if you put in $10 a month for a brand new baby and you did that every month until they turned 18, that would be it would be a large sum. Partly because number one, you've done it consistently over time. Number two, you've allowed time to work on your behalf. And that means that regardless of what you've put that money in, whether it's 3%, 4%, 5%, 8%, 10%, 20%, it's compounded every single year. And so it's not just the amount that you've put in, but now it's got to grow, right? And if you have like literally just left it and done nothing with it except just consistently invest it and almost ignored it, right? Because a lot of times our subscriptions, a lot of times our payments, a lot of times the bills that we're putting out, the things that we have opted in for, they were decisions made a long time ago. And we're continuing to allow them to go through without really any thought. And yet here we are thinking like there's a plan for my future, but I'm not really thinking about it because I have allowed the money that I already make, the money that I have already worked hard for, to just walk out the back door without any regard for whether or not it's actually working towards something that I desire. Does this make sense? Okay. And that's why create more money and spend less is simple, but it's not easy because most people are going to just continue making the same decisions over and over again. As opposed to looking at, does this actually serve me? Right. And so that's why my friend, he asked his bank to send him a brand new credit card every year because then it cancels all of those subscriptions. And he has to, well, it doesn't completely cancel it, but it alerts it alerts them, right? And it alerts him so that he has to then go in and go, do I want to keep this? Do I want to continue to do this? And it allows him to then go, where am I right now? As opposed to where I was when I made the decision to say yes the first time, right? And if you continue to say yes to something when it is completely unaligned to your vision, your mission, your values for your life and for your business, then you are operating like you're offside and you're out of alignment. And this is often where we see a disconnect because then there's something that's not quite right. And then we're trying to do things that are right, but we're still holding on to things that don't fit. And it's like trying to shove your it's like Cinderella, right? And her three was it two ugly stepsisters that tried to cram their foot into that glass slipper, knowing full well and good it wasn't designed for their foot, right? There are times where you just have to you have to just let it go. And that's not easy. It's not easy because we have emotions, we have memories, we have stories, we have all of this baggage that could be attached to certain things that have happened in our lives, even physical things, right? Even like books. I remember when we had to move here and I had to let go of a whole bunch of books, which I just told you I love to read, right? But for my kids, they didn't have any attachment to them, not really. One did. My eldest kept asking, "Well, Mama, do you want me to keep this?" And I realized he was more concerned about me and my opinion than he was about the actual items, right? And so us holding on to that was weighing us down. It literally and figuratively was holding us down. And so in order for us to start fresh, it meant that we had to bless and release that and let it go, right? It was hard though, I will tell you, because it conjured up all of these memories of times when I would read to my kids and our bedtime routines and the different phases of our lives that we were in, right? And so the simplicity of what I'm offering you. I don't want you to skip over it simply because you're like, oh, I already heard it. Don't discount this because I guarantee you that something that you heard here or something that you just was able to expand in your mindset and in your beingness, that there was something that was opened up as a result of what I shared, or even not what I shared directly, but simply by who I am. Okay, interacting with you and who you are because you're ready to let go of something so that you can expand into the full experience of your most abundant self that actually is designed and wired for the level of wealth that you actually know that you should be stepping into. And this is the beginning, right? That you allow yourself to say, yes, I am going to create the level of wealth. Yes, I am going to look for new ways to create unlimited income potential without it being dependent on my time, my effort, or my energy, at least not over the long term, because that is really what is available for you. Does this make sense? Okay. So, and then on the flip side, with the spend less, again, I don't want you, this is not about contracting and restricting. This is about looking at what do you spend money on? And does it bring you joy? Is it something that's aligned to you right now? And if it's not, can you let it go? Right? And just by doing this, I guarantee you, because when I have clients who do this, they tend to recapture about $58,000 a year. I mean, it's not a small sum, right? Because most of us are spending money blindly. Most of us are going through life without the intentionality that's required in order to align our vision and our values with where our money is going. Right? We're spending money in a way that's just fleeting. It's temporary. It is fast fashion, right? And so I want you to think wealth is something that is maintained over a long time. And it is something that is in the Bible, it says, a good man builds his wealth so that he is able to leave something for his children's children. And so I want you to think about, is that your definition of wealth? Because it may not be, right? And that's okay. But what is it that you are desiring for the level of wealth that you want? And if you want to maintain a certain lifestyle, then automatically we know you have to make enough to not just cover that lifestyle, because then all you're doing is you're working hard so that your money goes towards other bills, right? You need to be able to have the level of money created that you have an overflow, that there's an overabundance. Um, for me, that's why Jesus died, right? But for you, what does that look like for you, right? How do you capture that? What does that entail? What is the number attached to that? So sometimes we call this our freedom number, right? Sometimes this is our FU money. Sometimes this is our, like freedom 55, like when I retire, this is when. Uh, why not create that now? Why live the life of your dreams when you retire? I firmly believe this, and this is what I did my entire life. But now my mindset has also been expanded into an awareness that the limitations that I understood because of a whole bunch of stuff, um, right, mostly around safety, but it's a perceived safety. It wasn't real, right? But being able to say, what would happen if there was an unlimited amount of opportunity? What would happen if there was only up and up and up and up? What would happen if I fully realized, right, that there is power within me to not only make this amount, but make this and this and this and start to multiply those income streams, to start to multiply the different avenues that we have available, and that it wouldn't take that much more work, right? Because I know instantly when I say this, you're going to go, oh my gosh, but that's so much more work. No, there might be work needed initially, right? There might be work needed initially, and maybe then in order to continue to go. But at some point, you're going to have to just not quite set it and forget it, but continue to move up and up and up. Hold on. It's okay. I don't know what you just. Sorry, my kiddo is trying to send me cryptic messages. Hashtag real life, real mom. Um, so where was I? Holy Spirit, help me. If you have the ability to create one income stream, you have the ability to create multiples. Okay. If you have the ability to create one income stream, you have the ability to create multiples. You can create unlimited income, but it's going to be based off of what you believe is possible. And then not just belief alone. Okay. You have to be willing to put the work behind it. You have to be willing to do what is required in order to line up with those beliefs. And oftentimes we believe a thing, but then we don't act in accordance with that thing. We act in accordance to the old thing. Okay. And that's why when I had shared around the fact that if you just look at all of your expenses and say, would I still opt into this again? Now, obviously, there's certain things in order for you to live in your house or where you live, right? You need heat and you need hot water and you're gonna need some food in the house. But what kind of food are you eating? Right? Where are you living? Do you desire an upgrade? Have you just allowed yourself to settle? Have you just said, oh, well, this is just my lot in life. This is just what we do. And it's so hard for me to get this, and this. Those are lies, right? Now, they may be true for you right now, but they are not the absolute truth. And so I want you to just get in the habit of challenging some of these belief systems because if even with me saying there's a simple key here, and it is that you create more and you spend less. Make more money, spend less. But I didn't tell you to spend nothing. I just told you that you need to spend less than what you make. It's very simple, right? But it's so simple that most people fail at it. Just you can pull up any stats, you can pull up any of the news media, and you will see debt is climbing, interest rates are affecting lots of people. Like, what if we just pulled ourselves out of these stories and started to say, but I have the power to take hold of my financial future. I have the power to grow wealth, and I can use the skills, the experiences, the talents that I have in order to use and leverage that to help other people, to impact other lives, to spread the message of what it is that I'm here to do in order to help do what other people want to do. And in return, I get to make a lot of money. Does this make sense? So it's not about just reducing, 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 because I will tell you that that is not going to be the best way to grow wealth. Can you still do that? Yes, you can. I've done it. I understand it, right? And that is the world that we're used to when it comes to budgeting and finance. Again, again, I was very unusual because that's not the way that I taught my clients. I want you to do both. I want you to look for ways to optimize and to maximize what it is that you're already doing so that the money that you're already making is going to keep growing. And that might mean, depending on what your choices are, what your decisions are, that if you need to make more money in order to live the kind of lifestyle that you desire, then you're going to need to make more money. Point blank, period, right? Because the numbers don't lie. But at the end of the day, if for whatever reason you really look at, huh, there are, and again, when clients work with me, there's an average of about $54 to $58,000 that can be recouped a year in just expenses that they would not agree with anymore, right? That it's just happening. Now, I don't know what your circumstance is. Your number may vary, but I guarantee you that unless you're living on the poverty line, which if you're watching me right now, that is likely not you, because number one, you have internet, and number two, you have a device to use in order to connect to the internet, right? So you don't fall into that category, even though you may feel like you do fall into that category. Does this make sense? That's where the stories get us kind of wrapped up. So by nature of you being able to have access to tools like your phone, like your computer, like the internet, there are ways for you to leverage what it is that you know such that you should be able to make more. Whether that's negotiating in your job, whether that is increasing your skill set so that you can parlay that into a different position, whether it is that you use the favor of God and you just get a job that you should never have qualified for, whether it's that you have learned some skills and experiences that you can then directly translate into the online world, which is what I've done, right? In order to create products and services that don't require more and more and more of your time. It requires wisdom. It requires experience and skill sets. Absolutely. Does it require your time at first? Yes. But then once you've created it, you can help people over and over and over again without you having to spend a lot of extra additional time. That's leverage. Does this make sense? Right? But most people are going to look at all the reasons why they can't do it. Oh, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too ugly, I'm too skinny. I just I have ADD, I can't function. I have kids, I have a dog, where I live in the world. You can fight for your limitations or you can fight for your growth. And so this key, hopefully, is going to allow you to feel empowered to fight for your growth. That it truly is this simple. And there are millions of ways for you to make more money. It's just a matter of what is the best way for you. And I can't tell you what the answer is for you because I don't know you. But I guarantee that there is a way for you to make more money than where you are right now in order to help accelerate and amplify your growth and ultimately your wealth. There are ways for you to look at how you are spending mindfully, right? Which just means you are looking at it and putting your mind to it as opposed to mindlessly, like we scroll on social media and different things and we go, oh, yeah, I want that. I want that. I want that. Why? Right? Is it fleeting? Is it to change the way that you feel about something that's happened today? Right? Does it serve a purpose? And when we start to really think about what it is that we're doing and does this align to my goal? What is your goal? Is your goal to be free? Is your goal to, for me, there was a point where I needed to be able to just take care of my kid because she was not well. I need to be able to be available for my parents because they are aging and I could leave at a moment's notice in order to be there for my family. What is it for you? Right? And not have to worry about, can I pay to go on this trip? Can I pay to get doctors? Can I pay for this medication? Can I pay for this extra type of treatment that's not covered by our medicals? Side note, I'm here in Canada, so which is why there's some of that. Okay. So what is it for you? I want you to spend some time and really journal on this. Okay. How do you define freedom? How do you define wealth? How do you define the lifestyle that you want to live? What does it look like? What does it cost? Right. And then when we look at, so there are some practical things that I've given to you here, but the simple key here is make more money, make more, spend less. Make more than you spend is really it, right? So you can spend as much as you want. I'm not going to limit you there, but you need to make more than you spend and then some in order to grow wealth, right? Because most people are not paying themselves. Most people are not putting themselves first in their financial future, which is why you're working hard for money instead of having your money work hard for you. I mean, why? Right? Like we have it backwards. So where do you start? Well, you could start on either end of this equation. So if you know that you've already done the exercise, you're like, Susan, I've gone through my expenses. Like I've cut and cut and cut, and there's no more to cut. Okay, great. Well, then, in order for you to then grow, right, you're going to need to make more money. What does that look like? You increase your skill set. Do you need more experience? Do you need to just be bold enough that you start talking about what it is that you know and the things that you've done, such that other people pay attention, whether that's in your job, a career, or in your business? So that just like I'm an example, right? This is something I've done for decades. I didn't really want to talk about it, but more and more people need this help. And I'm like, well, I mean, almost 10 years ago, I said I could live off of what I already have for at least 10 years and have zero impact. Well, we've already done that and more. And really that amount has grown. Like it hasn't impacted. So there's something about the way that I operate that is above and beyond just the basics of, make more and spend less. There's something else here, right, that God is asking me to share with you, which is why I am. But I want you to think, if you need to create more money, what does that look like for you, right? And it's okay if you don't know yet. I just want you to sit with it. You don't need to answer this right away, because sometimes when we are so quick to answer, we cut off the opportunities. I want you to just be open to, where could I make more money? What are some other opportunities to try and increase my wealth? What are some different avenues that I may have closed myself off to, that I wasn't willing to entertain or to look at? What are some investments that I might need to be more more knowledgeable in, right? Do I need to invest more in myself? Do I need to start pouring into like different learnings, different skill sets? Do I need to up level my skill set such that I can actually be considered for a job promotion or to start a business doing the thing that I want to do? Okay. So that's around wealth creation and making more money. The other piece, then, as I said, I really, really encourage you to look at where you are spending your money right now and be very mindful and be a detective. Are there areas where you simply have just allowed it to continue because it was easier to just do that rather than dealing with, I got to cancel this, I got to get rid of that, I have to assess, does it even fit in this season? Is it even something that I should be looking at? Make sense? Okay. So those are your action items. I want you, if you're brave enough to do it, to report back and to share, your story, your testimonial, your ahas, because I think it helps lift each other up, right? When we actually do the work, then we are telling ourselves, I believe in my dreams. I believe in my desires, and I know that I can do this. And it can be a small thing, right? It could simply be, Susan, I really just sat with what you said, and here was a learning. Here's what I decided, right? That could be good enough. It doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, I made 1,000, I made 1,000,000, I made a $10. It doesn't matter. The dollar amount is irrelevant. It's really about you coming back to yourself and saying, hey, do I want to grow wealth? And if so, yes, then what is the amount? Have I defined what wealth looks like? Have I defined what financial freedom looks like? Have I defined why I want to do this in the first place? Because implementing these activities and taking action on them consistently, it will feel hard. It will feel uncomfortable. It will challenge you. It will make you want to stop. And it is very important that you understand and you remember why you're doing this and what is the reason behind your being of doing this, the reason behind the reason, right? And that if you take on other people's reasons, like if you borrow mine for right now, that's okay. But at some point, you're going to outgrow mine. You're going to need your own, right? You can borrow my faith. You can borrow my belief. You can borrow my experience. You can borrow everything that you need from me in order to get you going. But at some point, you are going to have to stand on your own 2 feet and you are going to have to decide for yourself, why is it that I want to do this? And it has to be so meaningful that it is going to compel you, like propel you out of bed, and it will stop you from getting stuck because you will get stuck. You will overthink and you will start to doubt and you will get afraid. And that is okay, but for a moment, because when you go back and you look at this is why I'm doing this. This is why I want wealth. This is what wealth means to me. This is what my freedom looks like for me. That definition for you is going to be so powerful and so impactful that it will stop you from getting it in your own way, right? And then get help and support, whatever that looks like for you. Okay. So, with that, I think we're going to be back when we're back. So, make sure that you're clicking notify, do all the things. We are live. This one only went on Instagram and on YouTube. And YouTube was odd because I couldn't get my streaming software to work. And so if you were on here, if you were chatting, I apologize. I can't see you. I can't read any of the stuff. If you're watching the replay, which I highly recommend on YouTube, simply because it's much easier to follow along, let me know what your key takeaways are and feel free to send me any questions. You can DM me over on Instagram, is probably best, or you can put them down in the comments below. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye bye.